We are here today in Brandon, Florida, with the 33rd president of the Florida Association of School Psychologists, Dr. Thomas Buchanan. Welcome, Dr. Buchanan.
Well, thank you very much for having me. This is my pleasure.
What year did you serve as the president of FASP?
I was president during the 1989-90 school year, and of course the year before that was president-elect, and the following year I was past president. And then prior to that, I was the professional development chair of FASP, and prior to that, I was the ethics chair of FASP. So I had quite a good run on the board at the time.
How long have you been on the board at
Gosh,
the Florida Association?
As memory serves me now, I know that I moved to Florida and joined FASP in 1978. When you think about that, and subtract that from 2019, that's quite a long time ago. So again, FASP has meant a lot to me. It's a tremendous organization, and I felt like being a president of the organization was one way to give back.
Well, and it's great that you were one of our special 20th century FASP presidents, and since that time, since being president, you accomplished quite a lot of other things. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you did after your FASP presidency to the current time?
I was moving around quite a bit in Florida. I was a school psychologist at the Florida School for Deaf and Blind in St. Augustine, Florida, back in 1978, and then moved to Orange County, Florida, where I was a school psychologist for about 9 years. Moved to Sarasota, and interestingly, after the 89-90 year was when I was moving from Orange County to Sarasota. So one of the challenges I had to face as a FASP president was working in a brand new school district. After I was past president there in Sarasota, I lost my job in a year of budget cuts. And when that happened, I had to relocate again and moved over to the West Palm Beach area and was a school psychologist for the Palm Beach County schools. And I did that for about 6 more years. And one of the things that FASP did for me was really confirm that I had some leadership skills. So I decided to go back to school and get a doctorate in educational leadership, which I did, which then led to me making a decision to move on to becoming a school-based leader. And I was an assistant principal for 9 years, and then followed that up with being an elementary school principal for my final 10 years. Maybe later on in this interview I can tell you all the ways that FASP helped me be a more effective school leader.
Excellent. It does seem that our school psychologists who have become FASP presidents end up doing many leadership types of activities. So let's change gears a little bit and talk about what things that you did as a FASP president. So I'm wondering if you could share some of the major events or accomplishments that took place under your leadership as a FASP president.
Okay, well, at the time, when I became FASP president, I ran basically unopposed. I had become, I don't want to use the word popular, but I guess my name was out there so much because I ran the Professional Development Committee, and one of my proudest accomplishments, which I continued to support when I became president, was I established the first FASP Summer Institute. And I'll never forget that. We were over at the Trade Winds in St. Petersburg, and Howie Knopf and George Batch were the presenters, and we did a complete Summer Institute on curriculum-based assessment, which at the time, that was a major challenge because a lot of school psychologists were very reluctant to go beyond the WISC and the Woodcock-Johnson, and they had to find other ways to get data to then develop and plan and implement effective interventions. So during my presidency, we were really moving toward what I would say was pre-RTI, because we were looking at curriculum-based assessments, gathering data that where we could make recommendations to a classroom teacher other than just eligibility for a special education program.
Excellent. And the Summer Institute is going strong, and we've got one planned.
I'm very proud of that.
Right. Well, that's good to hear. Were there any challenges that occurred during your presidency that you'd like to mention?
There was one major one, and that was we had an unresolved debate, and I'll call it a professional debate, regarding trying to come up with a FASP position statement on the whole term of emotionally handicapped versus conduct disorders. And there was a large movement toward wanting to provide services for those kids that previously were not eligible under the conduct disorders term, because we felt that there was a lot of kids who were struggling behaviorally who needed to have some help. And it became a major issue about who should be included or who should be excluded. We had a shortage of assessments available at the time. When I talk about assessments, I'm talking about whether you talk about projective assessments, you're talking about data collection like surveying, observation instruments, and those kind of things. Back then, the big behavioral assessment was the Achenbach. And of course, it's really grown since then. But the big focus we were trying to put across, those of us who were trying to come up with a differential diagnosis so that both groups could be included with some type of services, was we felt that the conduct disorder kids really needed a different type of treatment approach than those who were, quote, emotionally handicapped or had more mental health needs. So I'm not going to say conduct disorder kids don't have mental health needs either, because I think they do. It's a very blurry thing, but at the time, there was a big debate. And when I say big debate, FASP members took different positions on this, and then the university supervisors who were on the board at the time had very strong opinions about this. So I would say that one of my disappointments as president was we never fully resolved that whole debate. And I'll even say up until this day, I don't think that issue's been appropriately addressed.
Right, and now we're talking about the school to prison pipeline, and that also includes conduct disordered people with mental health issues as well. So I think it's
maybe the prison to pipeline wouldn't have been there if we would have been able to resolve something back in 1989-90. But anyway, the purists kept them separate, and the conduct disorder type behavior disorders kids, as you know, had to deal with consequences as the only method of treatment. And prison pipeline will show you that suspensions and expulsions is not the answer. Those kids need services as well, and I think the school psychologists could have really made large contributions in that area had we been able to get that through.
Well, I guess it's something that we definitely need to continue working on.
I would think so, yes.
Could you tell me if there were any political, environmental, or personal influences on your presidency that you'd feel comfortable sharing with us?
Well, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but those debates about the previous topic became quite intense at some of our board meetings. And as a result of that, we just couldn't reach consensus to modify any eligibility criteria. So I would say that the only I don't know if you want to call it political, but there were just people who were taking sides and people who had some agendas that they were trying to put forth at the time. And so it is what it is. It didn't get as resolved the way I would like to have seen it resolved.
Well, tell us then what being the president of the Florida Association of School Psychologists has meant to you personally.
Oh my gosh, it just validated that I had some leadership skills, of course. It was really my first authentic leadership experience. I learned a lot of skills as FASP president. One would be probably how to collaborate with large groups of professionals that are highly competent. And the people who serve on the board of FASP are the best of the best. So that's a challenge. And again, they're very strong people, and a lot of them have strong personalities, and learning how to work effectively with them was a challenge, but it also was a skill-building thing for me. I learned how to delegate, and that was really something I had never had an opportunity to work on before, so that was really important. I learned how to deal with Robert's rules, and I could never forget some of the FASP annual conferences when Joe Jackson would get up and challenge us on a Robert's Rules issue. And Joe is a good friend of mine, and we knew Joe would have something to say at every annual convention. We were just waiting for Joe. Okay, when's he going to speak up? And those other board members who will see this video are going to laugh when they hear me talk about that, because it was just expected to happen. And then the other thing I probably learned was about public speaking, just getting up and be comfortable in front of groups, and being FASP president. You have to address, your participants at the annual convention and other places, and so that was just great. So I can't thank FASP enough for that opportunity. And again, like I mentioned earlier, it was one of the factors, not the only factor, but one of the factors that led me to want to pursue a doctoral degree in educational leadership, because I had this leadership opportunity.
Excellent. Is there anything else that you'd like to impart with us as a former FASP president?
Yeah, I'd like to just make some statements, and I'm sorry if I'm referring to my notes on these, but I think they're important enough that I do that. But I wanted to emphasize that FASP has always been the best place for school psychologists to participate in quality professional development. If there's no other reason to be a member of FASP, is that professional development is second to none. This is especially important for those school psychologists who live in rural parts of Florida, where there's only 1 or 2 school psychologists in the entire district. Where are they going to get meaningful quality professional development? By attending the FASP annual conference, the Summer Institute, you're going to get state-of-the-art, up-to-date, current, cutting-edge professional development. And again, I'm going to put FASP up against any other state organization in the country when I tell you about the quality of the convention, the quality of the Summer Institute. So to me, professional development would be number one. The second point I'd like to make is that I think by becoming a member of FASP, you are going to be surrounded by professionalism and ethics. Mm-hmm. And professionalism and ethics is something that you can acquire, but it needs to be modeled, and I believe FASP models that through all their activities, through everything that they do. I think when people look up to a school psychologist, even at an MTSS meeting, they look to the school psychologist as the person, the final person, who's probably going to have the say in that meeting. And it's because of our professionalism, it's because of our integrity, it's because of our ethics. So I think FASP plays a huge role in it. The third point I'd like to make is that I believe FASP is one of the most progressive school psychology organizations in the nation. And let me just point out a few things where we've been a leader. We've been a leader in RTI, way back when. We've been a leader in crisis response training, suicide risk assessments, social justice, and most recently, best practices working with LGBTQ individuals. And that's just a few. I probably left out some other very important topics. But we have been a leader nationwide. There are members of FASP, past presidents, who have gone on to be national leaders in our field. And again, I can't say enough about FASP, the quality of the organization, what it's meant to me, what it's meant to every school psychologist in the state of Florida.
Well, thank you for your insight and for sharing all the information about being a FASP president and beyond. And we do appreciate your being here today, Dr. Thomas Buchanan, the 33rd president of the Florida Association of School Psychologists. Thank you so much.
You are more than welcome. Thank you, Denise.